Okay, welcome to the Dirt Vice YouTube channel. I'm gonna, do a YouTube video explaining how to change the fuel pump in this KTM fuel pump module. I was out riding with my buddy a couple weeks ago. It was, say, probably it was the middle of August, and out of nowhere the fuel pump stopped working. And I mean, really, it didn't stop working. It was still working, it just wasn't working correctly. I turned the bike off when we got to the end of a trail. Didn't notice anything weird about the bike. It was running completely normal. Took a break for some water, and then when I went to go start it back up, it wasn't running. We actually eliminated the fuel pump as the reason of what we thought was wrong. We actually thought that the kill switch was, like when you push the button, it was a little finicky. It seemed like maybe the button was still on the inside internally pressed, almost like you're holding the kill switch down, and that was like causing the engine not to start. But really, it turned out to be the fuel pump. When I took it out, I opened the filter. I mean, it looked a lot worse when it was wet. It's dry now, but it almost seems like just the pressure pushing into it was trying to go through and maybe like crushed it. But yeah, it looked terrible when I first took it out. So originally what I did was I bought a inexpensive Tusk unit from Rocky Mountain. Couldn't even remember the name of the company. Yeah, Rocky Mountain. Because I knew I would get it in 2 days. I've ordered from there multiple times, and it was saying it was coming out of, I think it's the Kentucky warehouse, I forget. Somewhere closer to where I live, not out in Utah where I guess they're based. And I always get it in 2 days. It was saying it was going to be there in 2 days. I wanted to get this Taco Moto 3,000 hour fuel pump, but I don't know. At the time, the shipping was very strange. It was giving it was like a Tuesday. I went to go look at it, or no, I think it was a Wednesday actually. And it was saying if I got the 2 day shipping, it would have been there on Tuesday, like after the weekend. And I was like, that's strange. Not really going to wait that long because I can't go a whole weekend without riding. So I was like, all right, let me get that Tusk one, see how that works. I mean, it worked out pretty well so far. It's been about 2 months, but I can't really, trust that to be out in the middle of nowhere. And not having to push the bike. When it originally failed, we were I'd say probably about like 4/5 of the way through the trail. We were pretty close to the end, but I still had to go through a swamp section and up a pretty big hill pushing the bike. And then once we got to the end of that, it was like pretty narrow 2-track where you couldn't even fit a truck down it. So I had to get to the end of that to a dirt road that would lead eventually to a road. I was probably like 4 or 5 miles from any paved road at the time, and it was terrible. So I just don't want to go through that again. So I really want to get something that I think is going to be reliable. I like the research that Taco Moto put into their fuel pumps, looking at the failures of all the other, I guess, I don't want to say models because I think a lot of them are the same model, but the other brands, and the differences between them and what they could do to improve that. The first thing that I want to talk about is this transfer kit, which I bought. Originally, I just bought the fuel pump, the pump, excuse me, with this stock filter. And then on one of the groups on YouTube, or excuse me, on Facebook, a gentleman was, he brought this up, but he didn't know I already bought it. And then I found out that he works at Taco Moto. I didn't know who he was. I think his name is Mike. And he was bringing up this fuel filter, which later on when I thought about it, I was like, yeah, you know what? Like, I don't really want to deal with any problems. So I went ahead. This I bought originally, and then I bought these two afterwards. Because when I originally changed this out for the Tusk unit, I noticed what a pain it was to get the gas out. It was absolutely terrible. When you turn the gas tank upside down, the threads for the cap just really disrupt the flow, and it just starts spraying it everywhere. It was such a pain. So I was like, oh, you know what? This actually looks like it'll be a good option to avoid that, which I did drain my tank, and it worked well. The only thing, not really necessarily an issue, but what I think could be improved is the length of this hose. It's so short, you can't really do anything with it. I had to put a bucket next to my bike with the gas can on the bucket just for this to reach the can to transfer the gas out, which isn't that big of a deal. But where I do see it becoming a big deal is I want to put this in my waste bag with my tools, so that if anybody runs out of gas while we're out riding, I'll be able to use this to transfer some gas to them, which I don't see how it's possible with this short little hose. The only thing I could really see that you could do is like maybe take a water bottle when you're out riding, like empty water bottle, dump it out, or if you drank it already, and fill the water bottle up, pour it into their gas tank, and then just keep doing that however many times you need to do it. I don't know. I mean, it seems like if this was a little longer, it would be, a lot better. So that actually worked pretty well, a lot better than trying to dump out the fuel and just have it spill everywhere. The next thing I want to talk about is this fuel filter, which, I mean, I haven't done any research on it at all. I don't know if anybody's showed what the insides look like, because I never checked. So when I found out, I was like, oh, this thing is fully serviceable, and then it says 250-hour cleaning interval. So I was like, all right, well, let me just crack this open so I can see what's in there. I was surprised. I was like, oh yeah, this looks like it's like metal. So this little spring just sits on this right here. It's actually magnetic, so it stays on there. And then on this side, there's like an O-ring on the inside of this. I don't know if you can really see that on the video, but there's an O-ring in there. So the O-ring sits on this machine part right here. It sits up against it, so it creates a seal. When the gas comes in this end, it'll fill this body with gas, and then it goes into the filter that way, and then it'll flow out the top and then out this hole, like through the other side, so it filters the gas. And then when you screw this all together, the spring creates tension where it presses the filter body up on the machine piece on the cap to keep it tight against that and not allow the gas to go up and around it. So yeah, that's actually a pretty cool filter. I like that. Glad that I got it in retrospect. I wasn't even really thinking when I ordered this. I was just thinking like, okay, well, this is the factory fuel filter, so what can go wrong using that? But then as people were talking about it, I was like, oh, well, there's a lot that could go wrong. It's just a plastic filter, so it could easily break and lose fuel pressure. So I was like, all right, well, let me get this good one, because I just don't want to be dealing with any of that. All right, next thing I want to talk about is the actual fuel pump. They had a video, Taco Moto, on YouTube that I watched that really sold me on it. It's a pretty long video. It's like 34 minutes long, but if you're in the market for a fuel pump for, I mean, really, these are in a lot of bikes, KTMs, Husqvarnas, Betas. I suggest, checking it out before you buy a pump, because I mean, it has a lot of good information in it, and they kind of break down the different kind of pumps. Trying to think of what they had. The Quantum one, the All Balls one, the stock KTM one. There's some other ones I don't remember, but the differences between them and what they did to improve upon, certain parts inside those pumps to prevent failures. So it's pretty interesting. It definitely sold me on it, because I just don't want to have any issues when I'm out riding in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you gotta obviously take note that when you're going to install this, there's a cap on the outlet and a cap on the inlet that you have to remove. You can't put it together with those on there. All right, so let's get into the actual housing here. Obviously, I took the filter off, which was right here. It was like this because I wanted to inspect it and see what was going on in there. I almost think this is the filter that came on the bike from the factory. It has like, I don't know how many hours it had at the time, but right now it has about 200 hours. The reason why I think that, I could be crazy, but I kind of remember there being on the clamps that were here, little paint marks that were like factory paint marks. That's just my memory of what it was that made me think that that was the factory filter. I don't know if that's true or not. I threw them away, like I can't check, but in my memory of it, they had these little like paint marks that almost like, I don't know, when you see something new, it's like some kind of inspection mark or something that's on like clamps and things. I think it was like yellow, and that made me think like, geez, is this the original filter that came with this bike after all these hours? Definitely should have been changed many times since then, if that's the case. I don't know for sure, but that's what I'm suspecting. All right, let me get a screwdriver here. This one will probably work. So you got to push in these little tabs like as you're kind of pulling it, and it'll come out. I didn't even have to do the tabs on that side. Just came out. And then you got to slide this out like that. All right. There was a little zip tie right here. I cut that off just so I can pull this out easier. Let me try to, oh. All right, well, can't pull those off, so. Okay, in order to get these wires off of the posts, there's, hard to see, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little metal piece right there that you have to push down. When you push it down, it'll slide right off. So it's like a little metal piece right there, and it'll lift. I guess there's like a little detent that slides into the hole right there on the end of the post, and it'll lift it off that, and it'll allow the wire to slide off. So that's how you get that off. Over here, because my fingers don't fit in there. I'm not sure who was supposed to do that, but I don't have any kids out here to press that for me. Okay. Well, I mean, like they say, there's no better person to show you how to do something than somebody who's never done it before. All right. So this is the filter screen that I was talking about, the pickup filter screen that I guess this is the first line of defense for your gas, whatever, you know, they're afraid that's in there. I don't know if it's bacteria or like viruses or what's in there, but can't get in there when you got all these filters. So it goes in the screen first, the gas, and that'll filter out any big chunks of anything. Then it'll go up and through the pump out the top into, this is where the filter is before it goes into the fuel pressure regulator, which is right over here. And then it'll come back out down this little tube and then out here where it comes out of the bottom of the tank. This, I mean, I'm not an expert. I think maybe any extra pressure that is like bled off from the pressure regulator, I'm guessing this is like a return that goes back like into this housing, like where the pickup is. I mean, it looks like it just flows right back into the housing. Okay, so I'm going to take this off. It just kind of pops off. This thing right here, I already removed this because I didn't want to look like a dork on video, not knowing how to do it and being stuck like what happened with the wires over here. So what I did was I just kind of gripped it with these needle nose and I just pulled up on it and it popped off. This little nylon washer right there, I mean, you could just kind of gently pull that and it'll just pop off. Hopefully the field of view is correct and it's not like a 15-minute shot of my crotchal region. That's not what I would intend or what I want. Hopefully what I'm intending to film is what is actually on film. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the pump. This is actually the first time I'm opening it. I've never opened it before. I've just kind of leered at it while it was in the bag. All right. So, very important. Got to take these caps off so the fuel can flow through this. There's the top. This is the bottom one. This is where I'm like confused how somebody, I guess it does kind of fit. That's like a tight fit, but you gotta like really force that on there. But I can see how somebody would think that that tight fit is how it's supposed to be, because I mean this is pretty loose, and I guess they would be thinking like it shouldn't be really that loose, or else gas is going to go, you know, this way, like past the screen, up and around into the filter. But no, you definitely you definitely have to take that cap off, so make sure you do that. Now I'm going to take these little doodads out of here, see how this goes. All right, got this little one right here. I'm going to put that on. Oh, wants to be tricky, huh? And there we go. On in one take. No more questions about that. We're moving on. Okay, so obviously put the screen filter back in. Like this one right here is like really on there. Like I've seen a lot of people struggling with these, and I pulled this out. I was like, oh yeah, just, you know, put a little testosterone into it, and it popped off. But this one, I don't really want to play around, because I don't want to. This is kind of almost seems like brittle plastic, so I don't really want to do anything that's going to snap that little nipple off the end of that. I'll probably just cut that with the probably should get 2 gloves. I don't know what this is really going to do against a razor blade, but psychologically I just feel a little better if I have that. So I'm just going to make a little slit down this plastic tube. Hopefully that's enough. I don't know. Don't think so. All right, there we go. Got that off. When you look at the tubes that are in here, I'm not really sure why there's these 3. Don't know what that's all about. Maybe different bikes have different length hoses. I don't know. But these 2 seem to be the length of the 2 that I just took off. So this one and this one, this seems to be the same length. I don't think I need this one. So these are the 2 new ones. Came with these clamps. So I guess you really gotta do a good job of loosening these to get these in here. All right, there we go. Okay, so this has to get connected to here, so I'm going to use this trusty heat gun over here. that I got from Harbor Freight Drill Master. I think this thing cost like $9.99. Got this years ago, and I know what people are thinking. Like, you hear a lot of people saying like, "Oh, Harbor Freight tools are terrible. They break. Oh, they're garbage." You know what? I'm here to tell you, I've had this for probably about 9 years, and I will say those people are absolutely correct. But when you're poor, you take care of your junky, inexpensive tools, and they'll last a long time. So I've had this a long time. This thing, it feels terrible. You kind of hear stuff rattling around in there, but it always works. So I'm going to heat this up. Hopefully I don't melt it, because that's not what I intend to do. And I really don't know how hot you have to get this, to be honest. Probably not a good idea to spray that heat all over my hand. I'm sure this makes for some riveting watching. Let's try that. It's probably not very hot, but let's just see where we're at here. Let's take a peek. Oh, all right, well, that's interesting. It slipped right on. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and guess that's 8 millimeters. Oh. Already got it on there, because pretty much everything on a KTM is 8 millimeters. All the plastics, all the little things. And that was a terrible guess, because that's not what it is. So I'm going to say 6 millimeters. And it's not, because this is America, so we don't use millimeters. All right. Gonna have to cut this all out. Embarrassing. Just use a flathead screwdriver. There's no sizes for that. Well, there is, but we'll pretend I didn't say that either. So honestly, I don't think you really have to get that plastic thing that hot, and I don't think you really have to go crazy tightening this thing either. I mean, I don't think that's coming off. I think, you know, once this cools down a little bit, it's just going to kind of form itself to the little nipple. Like, it's just going to kind of solidify around it. Oh, I wonder how hard it's going to be to push that in. That definitely needs to be warmed up a little bit. And I know what you're thinking. That fuel filter, did that guy ever tighten that before he's going to put that on? Well, we'll never know. He may have done it off camera before. May not have. We'll find out. Again, it didn't really take much heat before to heat that up. I probably should have put the clamp on first. Would probably made more sense, but we'll see. Did I just make this very pliable to where I can slip this on? Yeah, kind of. All right, let's just try to push this on and see how that goes. All right, it's going in the right direction. That's good news. Try to push that all the way on. All right, perfect. And I'll tighten this. And this one, I'm sure you can tighten a little bit more, because it's got a metal nipple under it, but I mean, I don't think you have to go too aggressive with tightening it. that should do it. When you're doing something like this, take a picture of what you're working on before you start. That way you have that as a reference to go back and you know, exactly what just happened. Like, what was the orientation? Was the hose on this side? Was it on this side? So I looked at it and it was on this side, which makes sense because it would come up right here and meet that nipple right there. So that's how I'm going to put it in, how it was. So now I can stick these back in. Not really sure how these were oriented. Obviously this has to be on this side because it's the bigger of the two and it slides onto there. This one slides onto here, but I know it was the hose was somehow fed. I think maybe it was like that, and then the hose like came up between these, and I think this was just zip tied to the hose. All right, so I'm going to slide this back into the housing because what we have to do next doesn't require that this be outside of the housing. All right, that was a heck of a tight fit. I don't know what's going on with that. I've never had that happen with the factory pump. I could always easily just push it back in. All right, well. I'd have to do a little, probably, cut there, make it look like that was super easy for me to get that back in there. All right, so that's back together. What I'm going to do is, this is going to slip under here and go onto there. So let me see how I want this to go. It's probably going to be a pain getting this to be the right way. So, okay. Put it in like that. And I don't think that's how I want this to be. I don't think I want this to be down at the, maybe, because, and then the screwdriver is going to have to tighten it from here. That actually might be the only realistic way to do it, because the other option would be to have it facing this way, and this will be in the way. So that's actually probably the preferred way to have the clamp facing. All right, so let's go ahead and heat this up. There we go. That's kind of hot. And this is plastic under here, so you're going to want to be careful that you don't put too much tension on this clamp. Not that I think it can crush that plastic piece, but it's just probably not a good idea. I mean, maybe it can, I don't know. That's about right. Alright. So again, before I put this on, I just want to double check the flow is going in the correct direction. Put the last clamp on. How do I have this one clamped? Alright, so like that. Okay. feeling this one will be a little easier to slide on because it's going right onto this metal thing, and it only has like one little barb on it. Oh, get out of here. Yeah, this clamp is like kind of a tight fit between the barb and the kind of barb, like flared end of this plastic tube. Okay, can't wait to get this one back in here because the one that I have in the bike now, that Tusk one, it's you know, running okay. I haven't had any issues with that, but the fuel light is constantly on. I'm assuming this is the sensor for the low fuel light to come on. I can't imagine anything else could be. There's only these 4 wires. These 2 are going to the pump to run the pump. This is the only thing I don't know what it is, so I'm assuming this must be what's detecting the low fuel. So I want to get this back in there so my fuel light isn't constantly on, the low fuel light. But there you go. That's how to remove the old pump out of your factory KTM fuel module and install the Taco Moto 3,000 hour pump and the Taco Moto 250 hour fuel filter. Hopefully, you know, you learn something and that helps somebody out who is going through the same thing that I'm going through. And I hope you have a good day. Bye.